lasting economic damage. For a look now at the global market space and some of the activity we've seen with central banks, I'm joined in London by Naeem Aslam, Chief Market Analyst at Think Forex UK. Naeem, good to have you with us on the show today. Let's pick up though with Mario Draghi as well as the bond buying program. If I'm not mistaken, picking up corporate bonds purchases now. Talk to us about this theme as well as the impact on the market.
Thanks for having me back. Yes, Draghi is completely turbocharged with his efforts. What he's trying to do, he's trying to dispel all the spells that his efforts are not going to working. So he's trying to get rid of all that negativity. So yesterday, for the first time, ECB started buying corporate bonds. They wanted to make enough bang in the market, so they went with full-blown, and then they went for those sort of bonds which are ranked at the lowest part of one of the rating agencies such as Fitch or S&P. So basically the message that they wanted to give out is we don't care and we stand by our what we said, whatever it takes. We will buy all those bonds which are ranked right towards the bottom of the list, plus we will also buy notes from the periphery countries as well. So basically it's a mix of that. But here's the challenge. They are supposed to buy 80 billion worth per month. Do they have that much, do they have that many bonds in the market? Because if you look from Irish perspective or from Portugal perspective, issuers are already reaching the limits there. So now they have already slowed down the process of buying into these markets. Now today, even though ECB said that, okay, we wanted to keep this entire process very secret with respect to what we want to buy, because obviously once the traders get to know, or when the market gets to know, then there's a massive movement in those stocks. But eventually you see the massive moves in some of the stocks, and then you can just clearly see that, okay, ECB is buying them because there's no one else who's going to buy it. When was the last time that you can actually think that there would be a situation where you are actually buying corporate, where the corporates are actually borrowing money and the central bank is going to give them money to borrow money? I mean, that is an absolutely insane situation. We are not there yet, but if you look at the 10-year yield for the Treasury or for the German bonds, they are all bending towards that negative element, towards that negative figure. That is the biggest concern that I have about the markets.
Naeem, let's talk about the dynamics regarding the U.S. Federal Reserve as well as emerging markets, given the fact that there isn't that much risk now associated with an increase in U.S. interest rates come the June meeting.
Yes, I'm actually quite excited that she brought that thing up, because the reason being, let's cast our mind back what really Yellen said in her statement last week. So what she was really relaying there, that okay, we are not going to take that much hawkish approach with respect to interest rate hike. Why? Because the U.S. non-farm payroll wasn't steady enough for them to come and then start triggering that button for another rate hike. But I wanted to make something very clear, that we have said over and over that Fed or Yellen, they're not going to increase rates during this month. Why? Because we have a Brexit. But let's go back to your question, what does it really mean for emerging markets? Let's look at MSCI Emerging Market Index. If you look at the 60-day volatility index, it has literally fallen off the cliff. Why? Two elements. Because we don't have that sort of a volatility which we had in China. And that volatility had really impacted that index, and then we moved a lot more higher. We don't have that. Secondly, Fed is playing, they're playing a really intelligent game, because they send a message that, okay, we are going to be increasing interest rate hikes, and then that would move the dollar higher. Then they will say, okay, we are not that much sure because it's still very much data dependent. Then we have a dollar coming down again. So we are very much consolidating with respect to dollar. It's a very, let's say, measured approach that they are taking with respect to it. For emerging markets point of view, it is all good because volatility is dropping. If you look at the price to earning ratios, that has improved massively for these funds. Funds are actually moving back into emerging markets.
Naeem, thank you so much for your time. We'll have to leave it there today. Would have been interesting to gauge your views on the recovery in both gold and the crude price, but we'll have next time to venture into that. That was Naeem Aslam, Chief Market Analyst at Think Forex UK.